Welcome to another edition of Inside Windows Platform. I'm Larry Lieberman, product manager on the Windows Developer Platform team. Today we've got Bernardo Zamora. Bernardo is a developer on our team who actually writes a lot of applications, and you're actually here to announce a new monetization tool.
Absolutely. As you know, I work also in your own team, and my responsibility is to try to get developers more money. And what we are announcing
I think
today,
we can agree more money is a good thing.
More money is always a good thing.
But how are you going to help people get more money?
Well, as you know, there are many ways of making money in the store. You can sell your apps, you can use in a purchase, or you can use advertising. And today there's an announcement of a new mechanism we have to help developers make more money with advertising.
Let's find out all about it.
Yeah, and so this is a Windows ad mediation solution. And here,
what's an ad mediator?
Ad mediator, that's a good point. So typically, if you have an app here, what you see in the screen, and you use ads as a mechanism of revenue, then you get some revenue every time that an ad is viewed, and then most of the time clicked on it. Now, like most networks in the world, even the Microsoft-owned one cannot provide 100% fill rate every time. So it doesn't.
Well, that's because people buy ads for a particular location, right?
Location or demographics or platform or keywords. So there might not be enough for your own specific app and your keyword. Games in Russia for this age, well, there might be not enough at that time. Right. So you might get between 10% or 90% fill rate. But there's still a portion of the ads you could have shown, but they were not available at that time. So you're leaving money on the table. And that's a common problem in the industry, in all platforms too. So the solution today is a way to help developers fill that unfilled gap with the highest value ads possible, the highest eCPM possible, so you get more revenue at the end.
So how does it work?
Well, the way it works is imagine you have the Microsoft Ad SDK, and it's 50% of the time it's not available. So
in one particular place.
In your app, in one particular region, for
Right.
one particular, and actually changes by day, changes by month. But at a certain point in time, there's some ads that won't be able to get filled. So at that time, you call a secondary one.
So you have more than one ad SDK in your app.
Absolutely.
The ad mediator is a container for these different controls.
It is. It has the logic, the code logic, to actually choose between them and actually select the order and then change the order. And you, as a developer, have full control of that.
Is there a service piece to this too?
Yes,
Okay.
and I think that's a great point. We'll see it later on the demo. So
okay.
there's, but the concept is this, and then there's some part of the code that is in your app, and there's some part of the code that is in the server where you can actually change real time this configuration if you decide you want to use a different ad provider in different order, or for some specific country where you want to do it differently. You can do it anytime without changing your code once it's submitted.
So what we're announcing today is the whole solution, the end-to-end, the control for your apps, as well as the back-end service that you use. Okay,
exactly.
Cool.
And actually that leads to the next question. If a developer uses this, what do they expect? So this is an example of an app that was running during a few weeks. And then you can see using a single ad control it was average from all the providers that are out there. It was getting about 60% fill rate in this sample app. And by using the second, third, fourth layer, it was able to get more than 98% fill rate.
98?
It was actually 98.5, and we're trying to get it even higher. So you will be able to get as much fill rate, but you have the control to choose which one do you use first. That probably will give you more money, and then the one with less money, and the one at the end with the one with the least eCPM.
But you just keep getting more money.
It is that, but it's also tailoring your experience to make sure that it's the right experience with the right ads for each country.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, it's both things, and giving you full control to optimize it as you see fit. As time goes by, providers change. One is better, one is worse, so you can change it and adapt to that. And let me give you an example. So this is, again, from the same app. It was running 5 different ad networks, each of them 20% of the ad requests. And so you can see in ad network 1, it was able to fill 99% of the fill rate.
For this app, you added 5 different SDKs into the ad mediator control.
Exactly. And the ad mediator control has the logic to choose between. So I had configured it to do exactly the same amount of requests for each of the ad networks to see how they did.
Right.
And some of the ads were able to provide 100% fill rate. Some of the ads were able to provide 1% fill rate. As you can see, depending on the network and depending on the country. And again, this is for this 2 weeks. Maybe 2 weeks later, it will change a little bit.
Yeah.
And for example, ad network number 1 seems to be very good in the United States. Almost 100% fill rate, fairly high CPM, 50 cents, very high. And you can see the other networks are not as good. But if you go to UK, even though the first one actually provided 49 cents of eCPM, it would have been better to start with Ad Network 5, which has 64 cents.
I see.
Or in the case of Mexico, this app had, I think, like a third of all the downloads coming from Mexico. It was throwing money out the door because it was getting 84% fill with 4 cents with Ad Network 1. But instead, if they had chosen Ad Network 5, it would have gone 32 cents, and most of them would be filled.
Can you then define a priority order for each locale?
You can define a global one, and then you can change for. It's a lot of work to do it for 109 countries. But you can choose, in this case, I would choose, after this period is over, I would select, if I were this developer, for Mexico, for Russia, and for Argentina, I would choose Ad Network 3 or 5 as the first ones, and then Ad Network 1 as the second one, and the other ones as backup.
So let's be clear, this is a solution for Windows Phone today, right? This is the first...
That's a great point. So what are we launching? For Windows Phone 8 Silverlight, Windows Phone 8.1 Silverlight, and Windows Phone 8.1 SAML, or
Windows SAML.
Yeah, Windows SAML. Yeah. So it's for all the Windows Phone solutions that we have out there, and you can see actually in the table that we have lots of different ad networks, 7 that are supported in Phone 8 and 8.1 Silverlight, and 3 that are supported with this launch today, and others that are going to be coming in the future.
Oh, I hope so, because I think everyone wants to get to Windows Phone 8 XAML, because that's where you start to get the ability to leverage universal projects and so forth. Although this too will have to support universal projects.
Oh, absolutely. And we're working with some of the different providers and others to try to get even more and more ad networks. And as we add more, we'll expand this, and then in the future, we'll also add Windows. We started with Phone to try to get all the feedback necessary to actually create an even better universal product.
Right. Okay. Well, so how does this work?
So the way it works is there are 6 steps.
Okay.
And
very simple.
Very simple.
Steps.
6 steps. Well, 6 and an initial step, so it's actually 7.
No, well, that's step 0.
Well, that's step 0, so it's still 6, and there's a baseline. And I'll talk about this at a high level, and then I'll do a demo, because I want to show how what are the steps that you actually need to do in your code. And I'll leave all the screenshots and everything in the deck, so anybody can go and download it. But I want to see a real
post the deck, and we'll post.
Perfect.
Do you have a sample, a code sample, or
there are code samples in the documentation, and I'm actually going to be using them today.
Great.
Yeah, so there's only a couple of small code samples. You don't need to code a lot. Whereas the actual code inside the mediation is hundreds and thousands of lines of code to try to do all the logic and connect to the web server. You don't have to deal with that. You have to drag and drop, and then there's some pieces of code that are optional but recommended for some additional advanced uses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
walk us through.
Walk us through. Okay. So the first thing you need to do is decide which of the ad networks you want to start with. Let's say you want to start with 4. You need to go in and register in the portals of these 4 networks.
Right. You have to go to each of them and register for using their service.
Using their service, accept the service terms, and also likely set up your payment terms so you can actually get money paid.
Get the API keys and all that stuff.
What you also need to do then is create an ad unit.
Okay.
So now you register and say, okay, I'm going to create an ad unit for Windows Phone in this size, and it's going to be this color, and it's going to be a banner.
Okay.
And then all of these services give you at the end a number or a couple numbers that identify that ad unit you created.
Okay.
So that's step number 1. Step number 2 is you actually, of course, install the mediation, and then drag and drop the controller.
And this is going to be NuGet, right? We're releasing on NuGet?
That's going to be a Visual Studio extension, so you will be part of the Visual Studio extensions.
Okay. So the ad mediator
The ad mediator is going to be a Visual
Okay.
Studio extension.
We'll have instructions on exactly how to get it.
Yes, and with the blog that was released as part of this today, you'll be able to see the link there.
Okay.
So go to Visual Studio Extensions, click on a link, install it, and then all you have to do is drag and drop the control, and you have the ad mediator running on
Which is
on
the
your phone.
container.
Which is the container that actually will call all the ad networks.
Okay.
The next step is to configure it. We strongly recommend you configure it, because that's how you tell it which ad units are you going to use from each of the ad networks. As you do that, it goes out and grabs all the ad SDKs from other third parties and installs them for you.
Automatically?
Automatically.
Wow.
For all the ones that are available in NuGet.
Okay.
And we have many available in NuGet, but not all of them. So and I'll show some screenshots. When it fails, it tells you this one wasn't available yet on NuGet. And we're working most of the ad networks to try to get them all on NuGet. And then you have to go to the portal, get the DLL, and install the DLL.
Well, that's a great piece of automation there.
It's it actually a great time saver. You don't have to find the latest version. You don't have to figure out which version exactly you need. does it all for you. And we're trying to get it even more automated for
Great.
the ones not available today. Then, of course, like any ad SDK or any toolkit, you need to go and declare the capabilities. And in our system, we tell you which are the network capabilities or other capabilities you need.
Like device capabilities that
Device
are leveraged,
capabilities.
like location, for example. Or
If you want it. I mean, each ad SDK requires different ones. So we have a list of all the ones that you need. And so there's no guesswork. You go there and you click on those, and then it's done. And that's it. Then you have to test the app. You can click F5, start seeing it run, or actually sideload it to your device or submit it to Dev Center. And the final step is actually submission, where you configure in the server which are the parameters you're going to use actually for production.
So this adds a step into the app submission process,
Yes.
is what you're telling us. Okay.
That step actually is there today.
It is.
It has been there for 3 weeks, but it only appears when it detects that your app has the mediator. So if you are not using it, it doesn't add any steps. If you're using it, it shows you that section, so you can start filling it.
Okay, so let's take a look at what this looks like.
Oh, perfect. I think just to
Let's look at the real one.
Yeah.
And we've got some screenshots here that we'll have in the deck that's available, but I'd love to see you actually do it.
Well, let's see if we can do it. So,
all right, Visual Studio.
I downloaded the ad SDK,
Okay.
the ad control for the mediator. I've installed it, and I'm going to give you a screenshot of the installation. This is the installation.
Oh, wow.
This is all you have to. That's it. I've been showing it because it actually reconfigures Visual Studio.
This is a lot of critical information that you've
Yeah,
got
I
on
know.
the slide here.
No, yeah, just be patient. It might take from 30 seconds to 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it actually has to install Visual Studio extensions
Okay.
and modify it. But once you're done, then here you have a Windows Phone 8 app, a Silverlight app. You go here to the toolkit, and you'll see an ad mediator control.
Okay.
Automatically, it appears.
And what kind of a project? Are we in a Silverlight?
It's a Silverlight, Windows
Yeah.
Phone 8 Silverlight.
Look like
like a very basic one that everybody is familiar with, that does Silverlight. The next thing you have to do is drag it here. Make sure you drag it here to the designer. And that's all you have to do.
And
now the mediator appeared here, and I'm actually going to just change a little bit so you can actually see all the parameters. Here. Okay, and I'm just going to center it. Okay. So here it is. That's the mediator. That's all you have to do in the code. It created a name that you can change it to be whatever you want. You can actually add and drag and drop several of these at SDKs.
And the ID is the critical piece for the service.
The ID is the critical piece for the service, and it connects it to the backend that you see now. Don't change that one.
Okay.
So that's all you have to do to add it. The next thing you have to do is go here to add connected services. This is where you're going to configure.
Oh.
Okay, because right now you just have a shell. Now you have to tell the shell what networks do you want to use. So by default, the Microsoft advertising in this case wasn't fetched because I haven't actually selected it all. But I cannot go and select all the other ones I want.
Wow.
Okay, so let's see. I do Mofox Interactive. And in this case,
I think we have a network issue.
in this case, you will see what happens if either there's a network issue, and then it wouldn't be able to fetch them. If it cannot fetch them, then it tells you it doesn't fetch it. So it's a good example of what happens when it detects that. For example, it wasn't available in NuGet yet. What you have to do is go to each ad network, download the SDK, and install the DLL.
Okay.
That's how now, a small tip here. If you are doing that, let me go here and show you. Many times, the ad SDKs are locked by default.
Okay.
So when you try to add them to your Visual Studio project, you may get a very strange error that says, a reference to a higher version or incompatible assembly cannot be added to the project. With this is a strange error. What it means, you have to go to the file, right-click, change properties, and click on block.
And I think a lot of developers will be familiar from this when downloading sample code often, if it's in a zip file.
Then you'll
see the exact same thing. And you can unblock it in Explorer just by right-clicking and saying
that's it. Exactly.
unblock.
But I don't know if every one of the viewers today is aware of that.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
So
So
it sounds like the same thing.
It is the same thing that they've seen before. Nothing changes. So either it fetches automatically or you fetch it yourself. And then the other thing you do is then for each of them that you chose, you go and configure the specific